Hey, it's Mark with Mark's House of Cars. This is my new to me Defender 110 with an LS3 swap, and we're going to talk about some huge mistakes I made buying this vehicle, which needs a lot of love. We don't know for sure yet. I'm going to show you the engine bay, some of the mechanicals, and maybe some people can help me out and figure out what is going on with this and some of the things they did wrong mechanically. I know a lot of the things they did cosmetically, but I am not a mechanic. I have worked on my cars before. I am a huge car nut, and I definitely made some mistakes buying this one. I don't know if my brain just stopped working or what on the auction, but I usually take my time buying cars. It took me years and years and years to find a Countach that, those are hard to find. My Supras, I took my time buying. I actually bought that blue Supra on Bring a Trailer. My Mustang 5.0 was my daily driver for many years. It's got a supercharger on it, suspension, brakes, etc. And I actually put the supercharger on some of the mods on that myself, but I'm definitely not, a mechanic who knows everything about cars. So one of the big mistakes I made on this, I don't know how I overlooked this. The seller on Bring a Trailer had 88,000 in receipts listed on there. And when you do an LS3 swap on a Defender, you're really supposed to replace the axles, get stronger axles. I knew to look for that. I've been looking at other Defenders on Bring a Trailer and other sites and all over the place, and this one did not have new axles listed. I thought it had the major stuff done. I just completely missed that. The brakes are the other issue. Looking back on it, it said it had, I think it said it had drum brakes in back. Obviously a huge sign that the brakes were not upgraded. Not good. This thing does not stop. I also talked to the seller since my last video as well, so I'll talk about that some too. My last video shows me driving it and some of the issues it has driving, steering, brakes, things like that. I just find more and more stuff the more I look at it. There's rust all over, and it's not just the roll cage. Anyway, so it's got some issues, it's got some problems. I'm going to take it into a buddy I know who's kind of a mechanic and loves these, so we'll see what he can figure out on them and if he's got the knowledge to kind of go through everything and figure out how we can hopefully fix it so it's a driver and not a sitter. Alright, so we'll open the hood, which is still on the right side. So this used to be a right-hand drive vehicle and they switched it to left. One really annoying thing is the passenger door does not open, and if I'm standing next to it with the keys in my hand, it just keeps clicking, like trying to unlock and lock itself over and over again. See if you heard that, not sure what's up with that. Once again. So, yes, the hood release is down there, and not easy to get to when your passenger door does not open, but we'll see what we can do. Something else I would really love to be able to do is, I don't know if you can, but move this seat back, because it is really tight, and I don't know if there's room either there. It'd almost be nice to move the seat in more and make some adjustments there. I don't know if you can do that either, because when I sit in it, my arm is pretty much jammed against the side here. You can see the awesome fit and finish all the panels have. So I don't know if that's a possibility or not, because it's got this kind of, that's right up against it. So I don't know. And the seat belts on both sides run out before you can, they barely click. You can't use either seat belt. They run out of space or length before you can use them. The center console is just not attached at all. The seats, this one doesn't really do anything. I put it down and now it won't go back up. This one on the other side will go down but won't latch. It just falls over. So yeah, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Let me open the hood. So there's no way to hold this up unless I'm missing it, or there's a trick that I missed. So I just have to hold this up with my hand. But you can see more rusty bolts. Paint is just like, what? They must have had, did they have something screwed in there? when they painted and then didn't take it off. You can see the quality there. Chips and cracks all over. And I talked to the seller, and he is claiming 100% all this was done in the last year. All the paint, all the mechanicals, all the interior. He claims it was all done in the last year, which I have a hard time believing. But so it's an LS3 motor, but it's not a crate motor. That's another red flag that I should have known. It's supposedly completely rebuilt by a LS3 swap shop in New York. I have that receipt. Supposedly it comes with a warranty for the engine and transmission, but I mean, do I have to go to New York? I'm in Colorado. That's not a very easy warranty to use. So you can see quite a few of the mechanicals here. And supposedly they spent $88,000 on the motor mechanicals, which doesn't include the interior and exterior mods. So we'll show you those receipts, and I'd love to hear from some experts on what they think about all of that. So you can definitely see some money was spent here, some work was done here. It's not easy to swap a motor, but was it done right? Is it gonna blow up? Who knows, because so much other stuff was done wrong on this vehicle. But maybe, you know, the mechanic who did this knows what they're doing, did a good job, and it was the cosmetic stuff and other stuff that was done poorly. Who knows? But yeah, that paint is just awful. So there's the engine bay. You can see, you know, some of it, not a ton. Boy, that Canon air filter probably, but accessing it, it's not amazing. I guess you can take that off and get to it. So there you go. Now we'll look underneath the vehicle and see what we've got there too. I really should check that oil and see what it looks like. I've only driven it maybe 5 miles, maybe 10 at the most. It's just very scary to drive. I've had a FJ40 Land Cruiser, old vehicles, and so I know they're not, you know, like modern vehicles. This one is beyond that. It's just crazy with its steering and brakes. And the seller talked to me about that too. He had some interesting stuff to say about that. That almost looks like yellow paint. Not rust, but again. All right. Not sure how well you can see everything going on here. I am definitely not an expert on brakes, suspension, axles, things like that. So I am not an expert on steering, that's for sure too. Maybe, hold on, let me go to get my light on here. Maybe that will help a tiny bit, showing some of this stuff and what is going on here. And honestly, I'm showing some of this just so maybe some people who know more than me can tell me what's going on. They're supposed to have upgraded axles. I'm 90% sure they don't. In fact, someone in the other video thought they might be 90 axles, which you really, really don't want on a 110, even a stock 110. So hopefully that's not the case, but I'm not really sure how to tell all of that. I'll try and get some other views here too. And so the seller definitely took pictures of the good stuff and left out the pictures of the bad stuff. And I think his excuse was, well, I didn't know, I didn't check that out. Just like I told him the back window didn't work. He's like, well, I never went in the back seat, how am I supposed to know that? Well, even when you sell a car, you usually check it out. yeah, and a lot of people mentioned I need to get a dedicated wheel holder because this will just break the hinges off in the door, and the hinges are already failing, so I need to do that. Showed that amazing glass work before. Pretty useless hitch right there. More rust. So, oh yeah, there's a spot right there. And I don't know if maybe I saw the pictures of the axles and saw that they looked kind of new because they've been painted. And that's why I assumed they were done. Oh, is that bolt coming off? Look at that. I was supposed to do that again. Suspension is not my forte. I don't believe that was leaking before. I think that may have just started. So, there we go. That's what we've got underneath and in the engine bay. Any ideas or opinions, please let me know. We are, of course, missing lug nuts on the front wheels. I don't think you need all those, right? And I do think I could live with this vehicle if I could fix the driving, make it a better driver. It has tons of power. I mean, it's definitely got very strong motor, but have to fix the steering and brakes, obviously. And then I could live with it where the seat is, but it sure would be nice to have more room. And with the AC they added, you know, this right here, it makes the legroom even shorter and tighter, especially for the passenger too. And I just don't know if you're able to move these seats much or adjust them, or even get different seats that maybe sit different. Who knows? So that would be nice. That would be a huge game changer driving it. Of course, the rust is worrisome. That's a new. I didn't see that one before. Keep finding for a vehicle that was supposed to have 10 miles since its restoration, all within the last year. It sure has been treated rough. That's new. That just came off. Obviously high quality. Alright, so, sorry, I spent a lot of time doing that. Let's look at some of the receipts and talk about what the seller told me in detail. You can hear it just locking and unlocking itself. So yeah, this works. But that does not do anything. I'm sure he never used the passenger door, so why should he know that doesn't work? And why would you wear your seatbelts to know they don't work? Oh, jeez, that's... Maybe I've got it. I might have to pull that latch. All right. And I just shut my passenger door. Okay, we'll go inside. Got it shut. I had to push the hood to the right about ½ an inch, and then it closes. Okay, so like I said, I got this on Bring a Trailer, And there's been a number of auctions on here. There are actually 2 LS3 conversions that went on Bring a Trailer right after I bought mine that were way nicer than mine. But they sold for way more. I bought mine for $96,000. Here's one of them that sold for $140,000. Doesn't have all the stuff mine has, like the winch and roll cage and different things. But probably, obviously, a much better vehicle, because it's not hard to be a much better vehicle than mine. But, you know, it's got the same AC. It looks like it's got the same tight seating configuration, too. Motor actually looks very similar. A lot of them have the Corvette intake. So this one probably had the axles and stuff redone like it was supposed to have redone, though. But one interesting thing on this, it still had, I think, let me look here. Oh, that looks nice. Yeah, very similar seat setup. Oh yeah, still got the crank windows, and I don't know if it had power locks, so that was surprising. At least mine has power windows. Of course they don't work, but you know. And then here's another one that sold just the day before that other one sold for $141,000. It was also, this was an owner who had it. The other one was a dealer. This was an owner who was super cool and said I could reach out to him with questions, comments. It does not, well, if it has AC, see it's got the Corvette LS3. It's not in the normal spot. Maybe this one doesn't have AC. I definitely want air conditioning. I'm in Colorado. People think it's always cold here. It gets over 100 a couple times a year in the summer. So yeah, there's those other ones. So they definitely sell for quite a bit. And if you get one done by some of these companies like East Coast Defender, there's some in England, all over, you're paying $250,000 for one. It's crazy, but they go through everything, like, you know, the doors and frame, axles, everything you're supposed to do. So we'll go down to mine. As far as the LS3 goes, I did a lot of research on that too, looking at different engine options from the, you know, the original diesel TDI. They had a V8, a Rover V8 that was pretty weak, honestly. A lot of people will put a Cummins diesel in them now. Some will put the BMW engines in them now. There's a lot of different options. I looked at some of them. Some of the ones I looked at had an LT1, one had an LS6. I've seen the 4.6 go in some of these. So there's all kinds of options. But overall, it seems like the really expensive companies that do this put in LS3s. And those are the ones that bring the most money. And so as far as, you know, resale value is one consideration. And just power, I really wanted an LS3. That's what I wanted. So here we can see some of those receipts. We'll scroll down. Yeah, they even had pictures of it when it's being redone. And you don't see any rust here, but it's also in primer, most likely. So I wish there were date stamps on these pictures so I could see when this was actually done. The roll cage that went on it, which is kind of cool. I mean, I'm not sure how much I like the Defender grille. I could go either way. But yeah, I mean, it looks like the whole thing was taken apart, redone, like I said. But man, getting it does not look like that now. And I'm curious if you can see. Oops, I lost it. Oh well. Okay. We'll go back to there they are. Here are the receipts. So I don't know if you can see them. We'll zoom in. There we go. So they just listed a bunch of parts and then at the end a bunch of labor. So, not sure exactly. They put in a aggressive cam. If you saw my driving video and other videos, it sounds very aggressive. Or the engine needs to work, one of the two. But all kinds of parts on here, and I don't honestly know what a lot of these are, but you've got radiator, like I said, a lot of this I don't even know what they are. Valve covers, cam gear, cam bolts, shifter, gas pedal. And the shifter is the wrong shifter because it's got more gears than they show, or more settings than they show on the shifter, which is pretty annoying. Is that the exhaust? I'm not sure. Intake. It seems weird they had to get an LS3 intake and injectors if they were just rebuilding an LS3. Is that strange? Wouldn't that already have those? I mean, maybe if the injectors were bad, but the intake shouldn't have any issues. Again, I'm not a mechanic, but exhaust, fuel pumps, belt, idler, radiator hose kit, AC compressor, lifters, straight clamp, like I said, drive shaft bolts, okay, a bunch of little stuff there mostly, and then you've got hood release cable, which doesn't work very well, trans fluid. That's the transmission. They didn't pay very much for that, did they? Torque converter, gauges, which a lot of them don't work. Parts, LS3, 6L, 80 dropout. They paid $6,600 for that motor, then supposedly completely rebuilt it. But did they put a different transmission with it? I don't know. So you can see it said 384 hours at 145 an hour, 55,000 in labor, total in parts 25,000, and 88,895 total for that bill. All labor is warranted for 90 days or 3,000 miles. It's not a very long warranty. 90 days. I wonder if there's even last updated 7/25/24. It's 9/25. So according to this, all this work was just done, but the interior body, who knows when that was actually done. And like I said, none of this is brake work, axles, it doesn't look like, suspension. So that might all be stock, which you don't, from everything I've read, especially with an LS3 conversion, you don't want that stuff stock on an LS3 conversion Defender. So there could be some money I need to spend there to upgrade all of that. Obviously, they put some different wheels. I think those are different wheels and tires on it to make it look cool. And then I talked to the seller, and I texted him a bunch of the stuff that's wrong with it, and he said, call me. He always says, call me. And so I called him, and we talked for a little bit, and he's just saying, oh, it's a good car, I've got more money than I sold it to you for, and you know, I'll send you any parts for missing parts, because it's missing a door handle, it's missing the back license plate. I'm like, the seat belts are broken. You didn't disclose that. He's like, oh, I'll send you seat belts. Don't worry. I'm like, okay, the back window doesn't roll up or roll down. He's like, oh, I didn't go in the back seat. How am I supposed to know that? And I'm like, well, the doors don't open right. He's like, well, I didn't use those doors. So how am I supposed to know that? And I'm like, okay, the brakes are awful. You can barely drive this vehicle. He's like, oh yeah, those brakes are way too small for that vehicle. I'm like, well, why did you configure the vehicle that way then? And I talked about the steering. He's like, yeah, the tires are just really too big, so it doesn't steer very well. And I talked about the paint and rust, and he just kind of glossed over those and kept saying he had a bunch of money into it and it's a good deal. I'm like, you can't hide these things. You can't not disclose them. And he wouldn't really respond to those. And I told him, okay, I'm going to take you to a mechanic. We're going to find all the things wrong, and I'll be in touch with you again. But it sounds like he wants to just send me a few parts and call it good. I'm not sure exactly what my recourse is here, but in New Jersey, this is where the vehicle actually shipped from and where his business is from. So I imagine that's would be where it was considered sold. If you don't disclose faults, it's illegal. It's actually illegal. It's against the law, especially safety items like seat belts, seats that won't fold, lock in place. If you knew the brakes weren't sufficient, those are major issues you have to disclose. I'm in real estate. I have to disclose major issues with houses or it's illegal. So I don't know exactly what we'll do on this. I definitely need to leave some comments on Bring a Trailer, let other people know to be careful with him. We'll see if he helps out anyway financially on this, because he definitely misrepresented everything. We'll see how bad it is once I take it to the mechanic. And then I'm not really sure what it's going to cost to bring up the suspension and axles and everything to what it should be. I imagine it won't be very cheap. I still got a good deal on it compared to what the really good ones sell for, but I don't know if it's a good deal compared to the money I'm going to be spending to get it up to drivability, up to the driving ability of those other vehicles that sold for much more. We'll see how all this plays out. All right, if you have any input, let me know. If you see anything I missed, let me know. I'm open to advice. I'm open to people's knowledge on these vehicles that far surpass mine. I did do a lot of research, talked with a bunch of different companies. I've been looking for a vehicle for a while on this, so it wasn't something I just jumped into and bought right away off Bring a Trailer. But I obviously missed some stuff, made some mistakes along the way too, and hopefully maybe if you're looking for Defender, these mistakes I made will help you avoid them in the future. All right, thanks for watching. We'll of course have more updates on this. I'll have more updates on my other cars as well too. I'm definitely a car guy, but I don't mind a cool truck, off-road vehicle like this once in a while too.